Good day and welcome to my class. Um, in today's class, I want us to look at quadratic equations. Um, Under these quadratic equations, we'll be dealing particularly with a method of solving quadratic equations, which is the factorization method. Now, under factorization method, we also solve three examples. But before we go into the examples, let us look at what is quadratic equation itself. Now, a quadratic equation is an equation whose highest power of the unknown is 2. Or if you like, a quadratic equation is an equation whose highest order of the unknown is 2. Now, a quadratic equation is given in the general form as ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0, where a, b are numeric constants and x is the unknown equation. Now, c here is a constant and it is equal to 0. So there are four methods of solving quadratic equations, one of which is the factorization method, which we will consider today, the completing the square method, the quadratic formula method, and the graphical method. Now, on the factorization method, we have three examples here, and I would like us to go straight into the solution. So let's start with the number 1. So the question says you solve x squared plus 5x plus 6 is equals to 0. The first thing you have to do is multiplying the first term and the last term. The first term, which is x squared, with the constant term here. So when you multiply as x squared by 6, you have 6x squared. Now, we take factors of 6x squared that when you sum them together, they give you 5x. Factors of 6x squared that when you sum them together, they give you 5x squared. So let's look at that. The factors of 6 x squared are, first of all, let me do that here. 6x squared. We have factors x and 6x. We also have 2x and 3x. Now, you can also consider negative factors like minus x and minus 6x. But in the equation, you have to look at the signs. Do we have a negative sign here? So since there is no negative sign, let's consider only positive factors. So x and 6x, when you sum them, what do you have? You have 7x, 2x, and 3x. What's the sum? The sum is 5x. Of course, 5x is the same as plus 5x. So now we are going to substitute 2x plus 3x for the middle term. We remove the middle term and substitute in 2x plus 3x. So that will give us x squared plus 2x plus 3x plus 6 equals to 0. We have succeeded in substituting this in the place of 5. So let's proceed. Now, you have to group the terms by factorizing out the highest common factor of each two groups. Now, between x squared and 2x, what is the highest common factor? The highest common factor here is x. So you bring out x and then you put x plus 2 into the bracket. Then the next one is 3x and plus 6. So what is the highest common factor between 3x and plus 6? The highest common factor here is 3, and you also have x plus 2 in the bracket, which is equals to 0. Now, if you look at it carefully, you discover that these two expressions here have something in common, which is the bracket. The x plus 2, x plus 2 is common. So we factorize x plus 2, and what is left? X plus 3 is equals to 0. Now, when two numbers multiply each other and you get 0 as the result, it means one of them must be equal to 0. So we have two expressions here multiplying each other, equating to 0. That implies that either x plus 2 is equal to 0 or x plus 3 is equal to 0. So we write that either x plus 2 is equal to 0 or x plus 3 is equal to 0. So if x plus 2 is equal to 0, when you take 2 to the other side, it gives you x equals to minus 2. And for the other option, when x plus 3 is equals to 0, when you take 3 to the other side, it gives you x equals to minus 3. So this is the solution of the first equation. Normally, quadratic equation will always give you two answers. These answers are also called roots. So these are the roots: x equals to minus 2 or x equals to minus 3. So the example number 2 says 2x squared minus 5x minus 3 equals to 0. So just the same way we did in the first example, we are going to multiply the first term with x squared to the last term, that is the constant term. That is 2x squared times minus 3. When you multiply these two, you have minus 6x squared. So now we are going to look for two factors of minus 6x squared that when you sum them up, they give you minus 5x. Now, because we have minus here and we have minus here, we are definitely going to consider negative factors of minus 6x squared. Unlike in the first one, where it was all positive, I will consider only positive factors. So now let's look at it. The factors of 6x squared. First, we have minus x and plus 6x. We'll also have plus x and minus 6x. We have another one as plus 2x and minus 3x. And lastly, we have minus 2x and plus 3x. So among these factors, let's look for the one that sums up to give us minus 5x. So let's start with this one. Minus x plus 6x. That gives us plus 5x. The second one, plus x minus 6x. This will give us minus 5x. Plus 2x minus 3x. This will give us minus x. Minus 2x plus 3x will give us plus x. So among all the four factors, here is the only one that gives us the middle term. So when we sum plus x and minus 6x, it gives us minus 5x. So therefore, we are going to substitute plus x minus 6 x in place of minus 5x in the initial equation. So that gives us 2x squared plus x minus 6x. We have put this in place of 5. Now we put minus 3 is equals to 0. Now we group and factor out the highest common factor between 2x squared and x. And we do the same for minus 6x and minus 3. So what is the highest common factor between 2x squared and x? Of course, the highest common factor is x. Then inside the bracket, we have 2x plus 1. And the highest common factor between minus 6x and minus 3 is, of course, minus 3. So we are also left with 2x plus 1 in the bracket, which is equals to 0. Now, you can see that we have 2x plus 1 here and 2x plus 1, which is common. So we'll factorize it out. 2x plus 1. And we have x minus 3 left. X minus 3 is equals to 0. So just like we did in the first example, when two numbers or two expressions multiply each other and gives 0, it means either of them is equals to 0. So either 2x plus 1 is equals to 0 or x minus 3 is equals to 0. This implies 2x is equals to minus 1 or x is equals to 3. Now you divide both sides of this by 2, and that will give us x equals to minus 1 over 2, or to bring this down, x equals to 3. So that is it for example number 2. And now we'll go into example number 3. X squared plus 3x minus 10 is equals to 0. So just like we have done in the previous examples, we'll multiply the first term and the constant term. So we have x squared times minus 10. This will give us minus 10x squared. Now, what we have to do is to look for factors of minus 10x squared, that when you sum them, you get plus 3x. So like we did before, the factors of 10x squared are first of all plus x and minus 10x. Of course, we also consider both negative and positive factors because of the minus sign here. And the second one is minus x and plus 10x. Another one is plus 2x and minus 5x. Another one is minus 2x and plus 5x. So these are the factors of minus 10x squared. So let's look at which of the factors sums up to give us plus 3x. So let's start from down. Minus 2 plus 5x. That gives us plus 3x. So without waste of time, this is the only factors, or these are the only factors that will sum up to plus 3x. So this one doesn't hold, this one doesn't hold, and this one doesn't hold. So we are going to substitute now minus 2x plus 5x in place of 3x. Then we solve. So we have x squared. Instead of 3x, we now bring in minus 2x plus 5x minus 10 is equals to 0. Now we group and factorize. So the first one is x squared minus 2x. What is the highest common factor? The highest common factor here is x. We open the bracket, x squared divided by x, by left with x, and 2x divided by x, by left with 2. And we have plus, the highest common factor between plus 5x and minus 10 is 5. So open bracket, x minus 10 x minus 2 equals to 0. Now if you look at it, x minus 2 is common for the two expressions. So we factor out x minus 2. What is left here is x, and what is left here is plus 5. All equals to 0. So, like we did before, two expressions are multiplying themselves to give you 0. It means one of them must be equals to 0. That is the only condition that is necessary for the product of these two expressions to give you 0. So either the first one, x minus 2 is equals to 0, or x plus 5 is equals to 0. If x minus 2 is equals to 0, we take minus 2 to the other side, and it results to x equals to 2. Or we take plus 5 to the other side in this, and x becomes equals to minus 5. So that is it. By this, we have solved 3 examples under solution by factorization method. So this is the end of our class on solutions by factorization method. In our next class, we are going to be considering solution by completing the square method. And we'll also solve interesting examples under that. So thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel for further examples and interesting solutions like this. Thank you.